Okay, today's concept is covalent bonding. Already we completed ionic bonds. Now our concept is covalent bonds. So this bond was proposed by the scientist Lewis. What he told to us. Okay, what are the information from this covalent bonds? So let us discuss here. So our concept is covalent bonds. Who proposed this covalent bonds? This was proposed by Lewis. The concept was given by the scientist Lewis. What is this covalent bonds? Covalent bonds, the bonds formed by the mutual sharing of electron pairs, mutual sharing of electron pairs between atoms is a covalent bond. Is a covalent bond. It is by the sharing of electron pairs. So contributed by both the atoms. Each electron contributed by both the bonded atoms. Each electron contributed by both the bonded atoms. So a sharing electron pair is shared between the two atoms. So now the bond is called as covalent bonds. So see here, there is hydrogen atom. It has one electron in the outermost orbit. There is one more hydrogen atom. It has one electron in the outermost orbit. These two atoms are involved in bond formation by mutual sharing of electrons. So that means that gives hydrogen and hydrogen. So this gives its valence electron. This one gives its valence electron. Automatically, it reaches a doublet configuration. Hydrogen reaches doublet configuration. So because of that, one electron pair is shared between two atoms. So therefore, a single bond is formed between hydrogen and hydrogen. So this is the bond formed by the mutual sharing of electron pairs. So that is why it is a covalent bond. That means between hydrogen atom and hydrogen atom, there is a covalent bond. How many electron pairs are shared between the two hydrogen atoms? Only one electron is shared. That is a single covalent bond. So one electron pair is shared between two atoms. That gives a single covalent bond. So for example, there is oxygen. Oxygen, its atomic number is 8. Electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. So it is the ground state electronic configuration. I am writing box method. The outermost, it is the 2s orbital. It has 2 electrons. It is 2p orbital and also having 2 electrons with unpaired cases. This is the oxygen, about your oxygen. This is the outermost electronic configuration. So this is the pair of electrons. These are the 2 unpaired electrons. These are the 2 unpaired electrons. That means oxygen in its ground state, it is ground state. As usual, electronic configuration is taken in it. Ground state means low energy, low energetical state, having less energy. That is called as the ground state. So in ground state, so 2s electrons, a pair of electrons and 2 unpaired electrons are exist. Okay. Therefore, oxygen has a pair of electrons. Sorry, 4. So this is 2p4. So 2 pairs of electrons and 2 unpaired electrons. Oxygen has 2 pairs of electrons and 2 unpaired electrons in the outermost orbit. So another oxygen, so it has 2 unpaired pairs of electrons and 2 unpaired electrons. These 2 unpaired electrons is involved in bond formation. That gives, so here 2 electrons and here 2 electrons are involved in sharing. That means a 2 pairs of electrons involved in sharing. So these are the pairs which are present in the outermost orbit of oxygen atom, which are not participating in the bond formation. This pair is called as lone pair of electrons. Lone pair of electrons. So such type of electron pairs 1, 2, 3, 4 are existent. Total 4 pairs of electrons. Next, This is the pair of electrons. Actually, unpaired electrons are involved in sharing and converts into paired electrons. So that means this gives bond pair of electrons. Bond pair of electrons. Okay. So two bond pairs of electrons, four lone pairs of electrons are present. So how many electron pairs are involved in sharing between two oxygen atoms? That is 1 and 2. That is why a double covalent bond is formed between oxygen and oxygen in O2 molecule. So therefore, in O2 molecule, a double covalent bond exists. So therefore, oxygen, so with two pairs of electrons and two unpaired electrons, and another oxygen with two pairs of electrons and two unpaired electrons, and gives a bond, that is oxygen with two pairs of electrons and two pairs of electrons and two unpaired electrons are involved in the bond formation. So finally, every atom tries to attain 8 electron configuration by losing electrons or gaining electrons or sharing electrons. So now we are in sharing electrons. Here, this oxygen gets 8 electrons. This oxygen gets 8 electrons. Therefore, so this is the oxygen atom sharing. So how many pairs of electrons involved in sharing? It is one pair, it is another parent. Two pairs of electrons are involved in the sharing. Therefore, a double covalent bond exists between oxygen and oxygen. That is O double bond. So this is a double covalent bond between oxygen and oxygen. Here is a single covalent bond between hydrogen and nitrogen. Single covalent bonds. Okay. Similarly, for nitrogen, nitrogen has a pair of electrons and 3 unpaired electrons in its outermost orbit. It is also in ground state. Next, plus another nitrogen has a pair of electrons and 3 unpaired electrons in its outermost orbit. Okay, so here both the atoms are involved in sharing. That gives a triple covalent bond. That is why nitrogen with a pair of electrons. These are the 3 unpaired electrons. This is another nitrogen, its pair of electrons, and these are the 3 from this one. Those are the 3 from that one end. So totally this nitrogen gets 8 electronic configuration. This nitrogen gets 8 electronic configuration. There is a 3 electron pairs are involved in bond formation. That's why a triple covalent bond exists between nitrogen and nitrogen. So nitrogen has one lone pair of electrons. So both the nitrogens have one lone pair of electrons, but 3 bond pairs of electrons. Here, these are the 3 bond pairs of electrons. Here, 2 bond pairs of electrons. Here, 1 bond pair of electrons. Number of bond pair electrons is equal to number of bonds between the atoms. So therefore, a covalent bond is divided into 3 types depending on the number of bonds. A single covalent bond, a double covalent bond, and a triple covalent bond. Single covalent bond, a double covalent bond, and a triple covalent bond. This double and a triple covalent bond, a double and a triple covalent bonds are considered as multiple bonds. So a single bond, and a double bond and a triple bond. So double and triple covalent bonds are called as multiple bonds. Multiple bond means a double covalent bond or a triple covalent bond. A single covalent bond is a single bond. So double or triple covalent bonds are simply called as multiple bonds. Multiple bonds. So these are the types of covalent bonds. So if the covalent bond existing between two similar atoms, hydrogen and hydrogen, oxygen and oxygen, nitrogen and nitrogen, that type of covalent bonds are called as non-polar covalent bonds. So see here. So a covalent bond present between two similar atoms. That means having same electronegativity in it is called as a non-polar covalent bond. It is a non-polar covalent bond. A covalent bond present between two similar atoms is called as a covalent. As a single bond, double bond, or triple bond, whatever it may be, that is called as a non-polar covalent bond. See here, here is a covalent bond. Example, covalent bond existing between two chlorine atoms, it is non-polar. Covalent bond existing between two oxygen atoms, double covalent bond, it is non-polar. A triple covalent bond existing between two non-polar, it is both are nitrogen atoms, both are oxygen atoms, both are chlorine atoms. That means a bond formed between two similar atoms. That type of bonds are called as non-polar covalent bonds. For example, if a covalent bond is formed between two different atoms, that is having different electronegativities. Two different atoms is called as a polar covalent bond. A covalent bond formed between two different atoms, the bond is called as a polar covalent bond. See here, example, hydrogen has one unpaired electron, chlorine, see here, chlorine, atomic number 17 in it. Electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p5 and it is the outermost electronic configuration. It has 7 electrons. So that means 3s2, it is 3s orbital, 3p 5, it is 3p, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so now outermost orbit contains 3 pairs of electrons, nothing but lone pairs, and 1 unpaired electron. Therefore, chlorine has 3 pairs of electrons, 3 lone pairs of electrons, and 1 unpaired electron. See here. This chlorine has 3 lone pairs of electrons and 1 unpaired electron. Now, a bond is formed between this unpaired electron and this unpaired electron. Now, it is a single covalent bond between hydrogen and chlorine. Hydrogen reaches doublet conjugation, chlorine reaches octet conjugation. Okay, so it is the bond between two different atoms. Hydrogen and chlorine, both are different atoms. It is an example to non-polar, that is non-polar covalent, polar covalent bond. For example, H2O, there is a covalent bond between hydrogen and oxygen. It is H2O molecule and it is a HCl molecule. It is H2O molecule. Here covalent bond existing between oxygen has 2 lone pairs and at any time. Okay, so these two bonds are non-polar covalent bonds. Non-polar covalent bonds. Next, sir, what is polar? Why it is called as non-polar? So why it is called as polar? So what is polarity? What is polarity? So see here, I am explaining the polarity. So once again, I am telling to you. So if the covalent bond existing between two similar atoms, that is non-polar. If the covalent bond existing between two different atoms, that is polar. Now what is polar? Now what is polar? See here. Non-polar, which is also called or pure covalent bond. Non-polar covalent bond is also called as pure covalent bond. So now what is polar? What is non-polar? What is the polarity? So why that one is called as a polar covalent bond? Why it is not called as a polar non-polar covalent? Why it is called as a polar covalent bond? Why it is not a polar covalent bond? See here. Let us take HCl molecule. There is a covalent bond, single covalent bond between hydrogen and chlorine. We call this one as a polar covalent bond. Why it is called as polar covalent bond? Here, electronegativity of chlorine is 3.0 and here hydrogen electronegativity as a reference element, no doubt its value we know 2.1 electronegativity. Now chlorine electronegativity is greater than that of hydrogen electronegativity. That means so the bond pair of electrons is strongly attracted by the chlorine and weakly attracted by hydrogen. What is electronegativity? That is the tendency to attract the bond pair of electrons towards itself. This is the bond pair of electrons, so attracted by both the bonded atoms. So those atoms having high electronegativity have greater tendency to attract the electron pairs. Therefore, chlorine has high electronegativity. Therefore, this bond pair is strongly attracted by the chlorine and is weakly attracted by hydrogen. Both are attracted, but chlorine strongly attracts and hydrogen weakly attracts. Because of this concept, there is hydrogen and chlorine. Actually, the bond pair is exactly in between these two, but this bond pair is slightly moving towards chlorine side. This bond pair is slightly moving towards chlorine side and slightly away from hydrogen side. Not that much entered into the chlorine, my dear boys. It is just nearer to the chlorine, not into the chlorine. Just nearer to the chlorine. So that means hydrogen slightly loses electrons, chlorine slightly gains electrons. So among this pair of electrons, so one from hydrogen, one from chlorine. That means, so this bond pair is moving towards chlorine. That means only one electron extra nearer to the chlorine, because remaining one electron is for chlorine. Therefore, because of that, this chlorine slightly gets negative charge because one extra electron. This hydrogen gets slightly positive charge. This hydrogen gets slightly positive charge. The slightly is nothing but partial. The delta symbol is called as partial. Delta plus and delta minus. Delta plus and delta minus. Delta, the symbol delta is called as partially. Partially. Small. Small. Little. These are the meaning signs for delta. Okay. So a little positive charge and a little negative charge. Partial positive charge and partial negative charge are available. So those atoms having less electronegativity gets positive charge and more electronegativity gets negative charge. So the tendency to split a covalent bond into partial positive and negative is called as polarity. The tendency of a covalent bond to split into partial positive and negative charge because of their difference in their electronegativity. Because of the difference in their electronegativity, the covalent bond is split into partial positive charge and partial negative charge. That tendency is called as a polarity. That tendency. Because polarity exists in this covalent bond, therefore, this covalent bond is called as a polar covalent bond. So this covalent bond is called as a polar covalent bond. See here, once again. So the tendency of bonded atom, the tendency of a covalent bond to split into partial positive charge and partial negative charge. The tendency of a covalent bond to split into partial positive charge and partial negative charge is called as a polarity. The atom having low electronegativity, it has low electronegativity. It has a high electronegativity. So low electronegativity atom gets a partial positive charge, high electronegativity element gets a partial negative charge. Okay, that tendency is called as a polarity. That type of covalent bond is called as a polar covalent bond. That type of covalent bond is called as a polar covalent bond. So therefore, HCl is called as a polar covalent bond. So that means the bond, the compound having polar covalent bond is called as a polar compound. Therefore, HCl is a polar component. There is a polar covalent component. There is a polar covalent bond. That is why HCl is called as a polar component. Similarly, water, hydrogen, oxygen, hydrogen. Hydrogen electronegativity 2.1, oxygen electronegativity 3.5. Here also it is a 2.1. Therefore, so during this bond, it is less electronegativity, more electronegativity. It is a 3.5. So less, more electronegativity gets partial negative charge, less electronegativity element gets partial positive charge. Here also, this one gets partial positive charge, this one gets partial negative. It is a dinegative, it is monopositive, it is monopositive. Therefore, overall the molecule gets splitting of partial positive charge and negative charge. Therefore, so this bond is a polar covalent bond. This bond is also a copolar covalent bond. Therefore, this H2O is also a polar compound. H2O is also a polar compound. Therefore, H2O is called as a polar one. H2O is a polar one. HCl is a polar one. Now, what about Cl2? What about Cl2? So there is chlorine has 3 lone pairs of electrons. Every time halogen has 3 lone pairs, oxygen has 2 lone pairs, nitrogen has 1 lone pair. Please be mine. So that is the Cl2 molecule. Is the Cl2 molecule polar or non-polar? Yes, non-polar. Why it is not a polar? Why it is not a polar? Because so electronegativity of chlorine is 3.0. This is also 3.0. So both have same electronegativity there. Both have same tendency to attract the bond pair of electrons towards itself. That means perfect tug of war. Therefore, electron pair is exactly middle to that 2 chlorine atoms. Therefore, no one gets positive charge, no one gets negative charge. Therefore, it is a non-polar covalent bond. Therefore, finally, if bond is present between 2 similar atoms, that is non-polar. If bond is present between 2 different atoms, is a polar. So it is a non-polar covalent bond, no doubt, which is also called as a pure covalent bond. Non-polar covalent bond is also called as pure covalent bonds. So this is the way to divide that covalent bond into 2 parts: polar covalent bond and a non-polar covalent bond, and single covalent bond, double covalent bond, and a triple covalent bond. So these are the different types of covalent bonds. Different types of covalent bonds. Depending on the sharing of number of electron pairs, it is single, double, and triplet. Only one electron pair is shared between 2 atoms, that is a single covalent bond. If 2 electron pairs are shared between the 2 atoms, that is a double covalent bond. If 3 atoms are shared between the atoms, that is a triple covalent bond. So whatever it may be, single, double, or triple, these may be either polar covalent bonds or non-polar covalent bonds. If these bonds are present between 2 similar atoms, 2 same atoms, that is a non-polar covalent bond, which is called as a pure covalent bond. If they are existing between either double bond or single bond or triple bonds, whatever it may be, existing between 2 different atoms, different atoms, automatically there should be an electronegativity difference. There should be a partial splitting of partial positive charge and negative charge. Therefore, that bond is called as a polar bond. That's why that compound is called as a polar compound. So, splitting of a covalent bond into partial positive and negative charge is called as a polar covalent bond. Kalyan, please read. At last, we will discuss. So, please note down your doubts. Please note down your doubts. Okay. So, it is polar covalent bond and non-polar covalent bond. Now, what are the factors that influencing on this covalent bonds? What are the factors influencing on covalent bonds? Factors favoring the formation of covalent bond. There is nothing but Fuzzel's rules there. Fuzzel's rules. Already you know. First one. Small cation and large anion gives more covalent. Small cation and large anion gives more covalent. Okay. So next point. High ionization energy. So that means ionization energy is high, means it is not ready to lose the electron. That means automatically it is going to sharing of electrons. So high ionization energy. Third one, more charged on the ion. More charge means difficult to form. Difficult to form means so difficult to losing of electrons or gaining of electrons. That means ion formation is very difficult. Therefore, so sharing is possible. All these are reverse to the ionic bond formation. Okay. Next, comparable electronegativity and that means almost the same electronegativity there. So nearest electronegativity, that means if the electronegativity difference is less than 1.7, electronegativity difference between two atoms less than 1.7, that should be a covalent bond. Is equal to 0, that is a pure covalent bond. So it is a polar covalent bond. In both these cases, it's nothing but a covalent bond. So if the electronegativity difference, that means comparable electronegativity means almost having same electronegativity or exactly having same electronegativity. Almost having same electronegativity or exactly having same electronegativity. So therefore here see between hydrogen and chlorine. Hydrogen electronegativity 2.1, chlorine electronegativity 3.0. Therefore, delta electronegativity difference, right? Delta electronegativity means that is 3 minus 2.1, which is equal to 0.9, which is less than 1.7. It is a polar covalent bond. Already I completed. Already the concept is completed, my dear boys. Once again, I am repeating. So wherever delta is there is a difference then. Difference of electronegativity. So difference of electronegativity is equal to 3 minus 2.1. 3 minus 2.1, which is equal to 0.9, so which is less than 1.7. Therefore, it is called as a polar covalent bond. For example, H2. So here, difference of electronegativity, its value 2.1, its value 2.1, which is equal to 2.1 minus 2.1, which is equal to 0. Therefore, it is a pure covalent bond. Therefore, so electronegativity difference is comparable at almost same end. Almost same, exactly same or nearly same. So they give comparable electronegativity. So they have covalent bond. So these are the some favorable conditions. So for the formation of covalent bond, favorable conditions. So small cation and large anion. The reverse case is ionic energy, but it is covalent energy. High ionization energy, reverse case is ionic energy, but it is covalent energy. So more charge, reverse is ionic energy. This is covalent energy. Okay, so it is a new point, comparable electronegativity. Already I explained this concept in electronegativity. So these are the favorable conditions for the formation of covalent bonds. Next, so valency and nothing but in particular covalency and covalency. So in ionic bond, we explain electrovalency, but in covalent bonds, here we explain covalency. What is covalency? That is the number of coordinate covalent bonds present between the two atoms in the molecule. That is the number of covalent bonds present between the atoms in a covalent bond, in a compound. See here, the number of covalent bonds present between the atoms in the molecule is the covalency of the atom in the molecule. Covalency of the atom. So the number of covalent bonds present between the, so see here, the number of covalent bonds formed by the atom in a molecule, in the molecule is the covalency of the atom in that molecule. See here, NH3 molecule. In NH3 molecule, nitrogen bonded with 3 hydrogens like this. So there is a lone parent. Okay. How many bonds are there? 3 bonds there. Therefore, covalency of nitrogen is equal to 3N. Covalency of nitrogen is equal to 3 there. Now, what about the covalency of hydrogen? What is the covalency of hydrogen? So one hydrogen can form only one bond end. Therefore, covalency of one hydrogen is equal to 1. Covalency of hydrogen is equal to 1. What is covalency? That is the number of bonds formed by the element in its molecule. Number of bonds formed by the element in its molecule is the covalency. See here in water molecule, there is 2 bonds formed by the oxygen end. Oxygen has 2 lone pairs. Therefore, covalency of oxygen is equal to 1 and 2 covalent bonds. Next, covalency of hydrogen is equal to 1 and 2. Covalency of hydrogen is equal to 1. Covalency of oxygen is equal to 2 and 2. So like this. See here, H2SO4. H2SO4. Here sulfur, double bond O, OH and OHN. It is H2SO4 structure. It is H2SO4 structure. So here sulfur can form 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 bonds ending. Therefore, covalency of sulfur is equal to 6. Covalency of sulfur is equal to 6. Here. So see here. So the bond is like this. HN. So now covalency of hydrogen. One hydrogen can form how many bonds? This is the hydrogen can give only 1 bond in it. Therefore, covalency of hydrogen is equal to 1. Now, what is the covalency of oxygen? Here, oxygen. This one and this one, 2 bonds. At anywhere, oxygen can form 2 bonds in it. Therefore, covalency of oxygen is equal to 2. Covalency of oxygen is equal to 2. Covalency of hydrogen is equal to 1. Covalency of sulfur is equal to 6. Okay. So, number of covalent bonds formed by that element in that molecule is equal to its covalent. Okay. For example, in SO2. So, the structure of SO2 is like this. S double bond O, double bond 1. Okay. So, here sulfur give. So, what is the covalency of sulfur is equal to? So, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bonds are formed. Therefore, covalency of sulfur is equal to 4N. Now, what about oxygen? Covalency of oxygen. Each oxygen can give only 2 bonds. Therefore, covalency of oxygen is equal to 2. Covalency of oxygen is equal to 2. See, my dear boys, in SO2, covalency of sulfur is 6, 4. But in H2SO4, covalency of sulfur is 6. That means same sulfur has a different covalency in different compounds. That means covalency is not fixed. So maximum sulfur can form 6 bonds. That is why maximum covalency of sulfur is 6. So sometimes maybe 2, maybe 4. These are possible. Therefore, maximum covalency we should expect. So maximum covalency of sulfur is 6. Maximum. Sir, how to explain the maximum covalency of an element? It was depending on the period. In which period the element is exist. In which period the element is exist. So depending on the situation, so the maximum covalency we should explain. So the maximum covalency we should explain. So now the maximum covalency. Maximum covalency. Aditya, please wait. At last we will discuss. Don't raise your hand. Please down hit. Okay, I will explain. Please wait. Yes, correct, Aditya. Yes, correct. Maximum covalency of an element. So it depends on the period. On the period in which the elements present in the periodic table. So where that element in which it is present, in which period? Is this in first period, second period, third period? Total 7 periods are there. Total 7 periods are there. So depending on situation, depending on period in which the element exists, here covalency is decided. That's to maximum covalency. So see here. So period number, I am taking some graph, that is tabular form. Period, that is elements, elements, maximum covalency. Maximum covalence. These are the columns. So for first period contains hydrogen and helium. Helium never form bonds. That's why we explained for hydrogen. For first period, hydrogen is there. Maximum covalency 2 bonds. Hydrogen mostly form 1 bond, but maximum it can form 2 bonds. Maximum covalency of hydrogen is equal to 2. Next, second period. Second period means hydrogen, helium, lithium onwards, neon. And neon once again not gives bonds. So that is why lithium to fluorine. Those are the elements. Lithium to fluorine. So maximum covalency 4. Maximum covalency for second period elements is 4. So that is lithium, beryllium, magnesium, lithium, beryllium, that is boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. For these elements, maximum covalency is 4. Next, third one. It is in third period. That is from sodium to chlorine. Sodium to chlorine. The maximum covalency is mostly 6. Mostly 6. For chlorine itself, it is 7 also possible. So maximum covalence is 7 also exists. So sodium to chlorine, maximum occasions it is 6. So for chlorine it is 7 also possible. For chlorine, 7 also exists. For chlorine, 7 also exists. I will explain with my examples. Please wait. Next. 4, that is potassium to bromine. Potassium to bromine. Here also maximum 6. Next 5, 6, 7. So that means whatever it may be, it is rubidium onwards. Rubidium onwards, whatever it may be the element, the maximum valency is 18. Covalency. Maximum covalency is 8. So what is maximum covalency? There is the maximum number of covalent bonds formed by that element in the compound. The maximum number of covalent bonds formed by that element in the compound is nothing but maximum covalence. Now I am asking, what is the maximum covalency of nitrogen? Tell me, my dear boys. What is the maximum covalency of nitrogen? Where this nitrogen exists? Yes, correct, Teja. Correct, all of you. So nitrogen is a second period element. Nitrogen, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen. So therefore, nitrogen has maximum covalency 4. What is the maximum covalency of phosphorus? What is the maximum covalency of phosphorus? Yes, phosphorus 6. But so covalency of an element never exceeds its group number. My dear boys, once again I am telling you, so covalency not exceeds its group number. Please note down this one also. Covalency not exceeds its group number. Never exceeds its group number. Valency that. Covalency is nothing but valency. Valency never exceeds its group number. Nitrogen 15th group element, nothing but 5th group element. Even though it is 6, that is phosphorus, 15th group element. Even though having 6, but phosphorus maximum valency is 5. Phosphorus maximum valency is 5. Okay. So see here, I'm explaining with an example. Phosphorus, its atomic number 15. Electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p3. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p3. It is the ground state electronic configuration. Ground state electronic configuration. Okay. So it is the first orbit, it is the second orbit, it is the third orbit. These are the inner orbits, no need to explain. So this is the outermost orbit. It is the ground state outermost electronic configuration. It is the ground state outermost electronic configuration. Now I am trying to write into box method. It is 3s orbital. It is 3p orbital. 3p orbital. 3s2. These are the 2 electrons. 3p3. These are the unpaired electrons. This is for phosphorus ground state outermost electronic configuration. It has 3 unpaired electrons. Number of unpaired electrons in the outermost orbit is equal to its valency, is equal to its covalency. Therefore, in ground state, covalency of phosphorus is equal to 3. That is the number of unpaired electrons. So it is a 3s orbital, 3p. It is the outermost orbit, third orbit. Third orbit also contains d subshell ending. 3d also exists. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 3d ending. No electrons exist there. It is in ground state. But if you supply some energy, this electron is excited from 3s orbital to 3d orbital. After applying some energy, now it is called as excited electronic configuration. Excited electronic configuration of phosphorus. That's the outermost area. Excited outermost electronic configuration of phosphorus. How many unpaired electrons here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 5 unpaired electrons. Therefore, in excited state, excited means high energetical state. Ground state means low energetical state. In excited state, covalency of phosphorus is equal to 5. Covalency of phosphorus is equal to 5. So these are very, very important. So the best example is here PCl3. Phosphorus can form 3 bonds with 3 chlorine atoms. PCl3. There phosphorus is in covalency 3a. Next PCl5. So there phosphorus can give 5 bonds with 5 chlorine atoms. 5 bonds with 5 chlorine atoms. Therefore, covalency of phosphorus in PCl5 is 5 bonds. Here phosphorus can form only 3 bonds. So in PCl3 covalency is 3. In PCl5 phosphorus covalency is 5. So covalency of an element never exceeds this group. Okay. Now, so what about nitrogen? Maximum covalence of nitrogen is 4. But why not it is 5 or 6, etc. See here. Nitrogen. Atomic number 7. Electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p3 and 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. So it is first orbit, it is second orbit, it is outermost electronic configuration of phosphorus, that is nitrogen, and no need of this one. Okay, so try to, so it is the second orbit, 2s, 2p, second orbit. So in second orbit, 2d orbitals are not existed, but in third orbit, 3d exists. But in second orbit, only 2s, 2p are exist, 2d not existed. Okay, that is why for phosphorus, I am representing 3d orbitals, but not for nitrogen. Okay, so nitrogen. So it is a 2s orbital, 2p orbital, 2p orbital, 1, 2, 3. It is the ground state electronic configuration of nitrogen. How many unpaired electrons of nitrogen is there? 3 unpaired electrons, 3 unpaired electrons, which is equal to, therefore, covalency is equal to 3 NH3 their nitrogen covalency is 3, NCl3 their nitrogen covalency 3. In all these cases, their nitrogen covalency of nitrogen is equal to 3N. Okay, so now, is this electron excited from this state to another state? Is this possible? Just like in your phosphorus? No one, because so here 2d orbital not exist. That means no empty orbitals are there. That means excitation of this electron is not possible. Therefore, only 3 unpaired electrons are exist. Therefore, covalency of nitrogen is 3N. Now, so this electron pair, see here, my boys, nitrogen, 3 unpaired electrons and a pair of electrons. These 3 unpaired electrons are bonded with 3 chlorine atoms in NCl3. In NCl3, there is a lone pair. There is a lone pair of nitrogen. If someone wants, so this nitrogen can donate this lone pair to others. That is nothing but a coordinate covalent bond. Another type of bond we will explain later. So this lone pair is donated by nitrogen to any orbital, empty orbital, having species just like H plus and H plus has empty orbital. So to this empty orbital, this nitrogen donates the electron pair that gives NCl3H plus. So that means NHCl3 plus ion. So it is better to go with, just a minute, not NCl3. It is better to go with NH4 plus ion. It is NH3. There is a nitrogen. There is H plus ion. This H plus ion has empty orbitals. This lone pair donates to that H plus ion empty orbital. Therefore, so nitrogen with 3 covalent bonds, normal covalent bonds, with H plus, there is a coordinate covalent bond. There is a coordinate covalent bond. So that means the lone pair of nitrogen is also donated by that nitrogen to any species having empty orbital. Any species having empty orbital. That is a coordinate covalent bond. I will explain later, please wait. That is about your coordinate covalent bond. That coordinate covalent bond also possible for nitrogen. Therefore, nitrogen has a maximum 4 bonds. Therefore, maximum covalency of nitrogen is equal to 4. Maximum covalency of nitrogen is equal to 4. Generally, we expected 3N, but this electron pair also donated by that nitrogen for any species having empty orbitals. Therefore, one more bond can be formed by that nitrogen element. Therefore, maximum covalency is 4N. Okay, so this is the way to explain covalency and maximum covalency of an element. Okay, now what are the properties of these covalent bonds? So what are the properties of these covalent compounds? See here. Properties of covalent compounds. Properties of covalent compounds. NH3 once again. See here. Your NH3 molecule. Nitrogen has 3 unpaired electrons and 1 lone pair of electrons. Hydrogen has 1 unpaired electron. Therefore, a covalent bond is formed between nitrogen and 3 hydrogens. That is a triple covalent bond is formed. Nitrogen has a lone pair. Okay, that may also involve in the reaction even though it is in paired condition. So, at which time? So, if it contains an empty, that is any H plus orbital, H plus has empty orbital. H plus has empty orbital. It has no electrons, but it has excess of electrons. This electron pair donated by nitrogen to H plus ion. Therefore, a coordinate covalent bond is formed between nitrogen and chlorine, nitrogen and H plus ion. Nitrogen. Therefore, nitrogen can form 4 bonds. One is coordinate covalent bond, and remaining 3 are covalent bonds. So, coordinate covalent bond is also treated as covalent bonds. Therefore, covalency of nitrogen is 4 maximum. Okay, having no outermost d orbitals, 5 is not possible. So, same group, phosphorus has 5 maximum valency, but nitrogen has maximum 4. It is restricted to 4 because of absence of d orbitals in its outermost orbit. Because nitrogen has the outermost orbit is second orbit is only 2s and 2 pk, but not 2d orbitals. Okay, so this is about your ammonia. Their nitrogen covalency is maximum covalency is for any ammonium ion. NH3 is called as ammonia, but NH4 plus ion. NH4 plus ion is nothing but NH3 plus H plus ion. NH3 plus H plus ion. So this is the same end. In this nitrogen, this compound, this NH4 plus ion is called as ammonium ion. Ammonium ion. In ammonium ion, covalency of nitrogen is equal to 4. In ammonium ion, covalency of nitrogen is equal to 4. In ammonium ion, nitrogen covalency. The structure of this one is nitrogen with 3 hydrogens and a coordinate covalent bond with H plus. And a coordinate covalent bond with H plus. That is called as ammonium ion. So that ammonium ion, nitrogen covalency is 4. It is the maximum for this one. It is the maximum. Next. Boys, am I audible to you? Boys, am I audible to you? Yes, yes. Manoj, check your net connection. Manoj, check your net connection. So almost all of you. Okay. Thank you. Properties of covalent compounds. Properties of covalent compounds. See here, my dear boys. Covalent compounds may exist in solids, liquids, or gases. In all forms, this is existent. Solid form, liquid form, or gaseous form. See here, example, Cl2 is a gas and covalent component. Br2 is a liquid and it is also covalent component. I2 it is also covalent compound, but it is solid and at room temperature. At room temperature, these are the cases only. So that means all these 3 compounds are covalent compounds. Even though these are covalent, may exist solid, liquid, and gaseous conditions. That means covalent compounds may be solids, liquids, or gases, but most of the cases gases. Okay. So, but liquids and solids also exist. Covalent compounds. Next point. generally they have low melting and boiling points. Generally, they have low melting and boiling point. So that means most of the compounds are gaseous in state. They have easily evaporated. So easily evaporated. Easily evaporated means low melting and boiling point. Low melting and boiling point. But for network, sorry, 3-dimensional network, 3D network, solids have high melting points. But for 3D network solids, for example, SiO2, SiO2 and this is the 3-dimensional network of covalent component. It is SiO2 compound, silica, simply called as silica. Silica. Nothing but our sand. In our daily life, it is the sand. Sand formula SiO2. So it has SiO2, SiO2, like this. Polymeric structure existed. It is a 3-dimensional picture. 3-dimensional structure. So it has high melting point. Next, it is example 1. Example 2, diamond. Diamond, their carbon tetrahedrally connected for 4 other carbon atoms. It is a tetrahedral cases. Every carbon connected with 4 other cases. That is also 3-dimensional network case. Every carbon has 4 bonds. Every carbon has 4 bonds. Each bond connected with 4 carbons. Okay, so that is diamond. It has also more melting point, even though that is covalent compounds. Okay, like this, 3-dimensional network solids have high melting and boiling points, but except this case, remaining all cases, they have low melting and boiling points, except in case of 3-dimensional compounds. 3-dimensional network solids have high melting and boiling points, but generally covalent compounds have low melting and boiling points. Next one. Solubility. Solubility. Third point, solubility. Like dissolves like it. It is the condition. Like dissolves like means polar compound soluble in polar solvents and non-polar compounds soluble in non-polar solvents. Polar compounds are soluble in polar solvents. Non-polar compounds are soluble in non-polar solvents. So polar compounds and non-polar compounds. Okay, so that means polar soluble in polar. Non-polar soluble in non-polar solvents means like compounds dissolved like compounds. Like dissolves like it. So see my dear boys, here HCl, it is a polar component. Water, it is a polar solvent. Therefore, HCl dissolves in water. HCl dissolves in water. So Cl2, Cl2, it is non-polar. Therefore, in water, this is not soluble. Not soluble. Okay. So, but Cl2, is soluble in non-polar solvent. Non-polar solvent means benzene, carbon tetrachloride, CCl4. Carbon tetrachloride like compounds are non-polar compounds. So Cl2 is soluble in non-polar solvents like benzene and CCl4, but not soluble in water because water is polar end. Water is polar and it is a non-polar end. Water is polar and it is a non-polar. Okay. So these are the very, very important cases. So very, very important ending. So, but the solubility of chemicals is mainly depending on, so see we had it first, the solubility of solvents. The solubility in solvents mainly depending on depends on dielectric constant. Dielectric constant of solvent. Solvent has something dielectric constant. Dielectric constant means that is a property of particular solvent. Dielectric constant means it is the property of solvent to split the compound into ions. That is the property of solvent to split the compounds into ions. Is called as the dielectric constant. That is the property. Okay. So more dielectric constants, that means ionic compounds are more soluble. See here, polar compounds are more soluble. Polar compounds are more soluble. Polar compounds are more soluble. So those solvents having more dielectric constants are best solvents. Dielectric constant is high, solubility is high. Those solvents ready to break the compounds into respect to ions. Those compounds ready to break the compounds into respect to ions. Those solvents ready to break the compounds into respect to ions. Okay. So see here. Generally, dielectric constant is high for polar solvents and low for non-polar solvents. Generally, dielectric constant is high for polar solvents and low for non-polar solvents. So generally dielectric constant is high for polar solvents. Polar solvents are nothing but water, NaH3, acetic acid. These are nothing but polar solvents. For these compounds, dielectric constant is high. That means most of the compounds are soluble in that. Most of the compounds are soluble in that. So low, that is non-polar solvents. Non-polar solvents is either alcohol, that is CCl4, carbon tetrachloride. So like this, organic solvents. These compounds are non-polar solvents. These have low energy. That means most of the compounds are soluble in polar solvents and less soluble in non-polar solvents. It is the property of that particular solvent. That property is nothing but a dielectric constant. Dielectric constant means that is the property of that particular solvent to split the compound into ions. So more dielectric constant, easy to break that compound. Less dielectric constant, difficult to. So easy to break, more is the solubility. Easy to break, more is the solubility. So these are the properties of this particular dielectric constant case study, that is solubility cases. Next one. Next point. Formation of covalent bond is a directional element. That means in one direction, the bond is easily formed. In another direction, the bond is not formed. So, but ionic bond is non-directional, covalent bond is a directional element. Therefore, so covalent compounds can show isomerism. The concept of isomerism, it is particularly available in your organic chemistry only. So different structural arrangements are possible. That structural arrangement is there is nothing but isomerism. We will explain in organic chemistry. The concept of isomerism is possible for covalent compounds, not for ionic compounds. So isomerism is due to directional nature of the bond. Isomerism is due to directional nature of the bond. Covalent bonds are directional. Therefore, covalent compounds generally exhibit isomerism concept. Next point. Next point. Reactions, chemical reactions involving covalent compounds are slow. That means ionic reactions are very fast, and already I told to you. So compounds involved in ionic compounds involved reactions are very fast, but covalent reactions, that means the covalent compounds involved reactions are very slow, because see here H2 plus O2 example gives H2O, gives H2O. So half H2 for our balancing, or 2H2 plus O2 gives 2H2O. Here there is a H2 molecule, there is a bond between hydrogen and oxygen. There is O2 molecule, there is a double bond between oxygen and oxygen. So two hydrogens, there is a two H2 molecules, one oxygen molecule. So one oxygen molecule, if this bond is breaking, it is broken. Now from this two hydrogen atoms, from this two hydrogen atoms, from this two oxygen atoms, that means these four hydrogens, these two oxygen atoms gives oxygen with two hydrogen bonds. So that is two molecules are formed. That means some bonds are going to be broken. Some bonds are formed. So actually there is no bond between hydrogen and oxygen. Actually there is no bond between hydrogen and oxygen. But here is a bond between hydrogen and oxygen. That means these bonds are formed. These bonds are broken. That means during this chemical reaction, some bonds are broken, some bonds are formed. Bond breaking and bond making is the chemical reaction. For this purpose, there is a need of some time for breaking and breaking of these bonds. That is why these reactions are slow. So compounds involving covalent compounds involving reactions are slow reactions, because bond breaking and bond making takes place some time. So that means, so all chemical reactions involving covalent compounds are very slow reactions. But see here, my dear boys, the same H2O, there is H plus R, there is OH minus N, that gives water. This is very fast reaction. This is a slow reaction. Why that is fast, this is slow? Here bond breaking and bond making is required. But here H plus and OH minus, there is a strong attractive force. That is why H2O is easily formed. That is ionic. That is ionic. That means ionic reactions are fast, covalent reactions are slow. Ionic reactions are fast, covalent reactions are slow only. So these are very, very important points. Next one. Next point. Generally, covalent compounds are bad conductors of electricity. And that means these are not a good conductor, sir, because they don't have any unpaired electrons or free ions. So generally current carrying capacity is for unpaired electrons and free ions. Those chemicals having unpaired electrons or free ions, any one of these are good conductors. But covalent compounds have no unpaired electrons, no ions. So no unpaired electrons, no ions means current is not flowing from one to another end. That is why these are bad conductors. But graphite, it is a covalent component. But it is a good conductor. It is exceptional case, my dear boys. It is good conductor as it has unpaired electrons. So how it is possible, we will explain at the time of graphite, not here. So graphite has unpaired electrons, that is why it's good conductor, even though it is a covalent compound. It is an exceptional case. It is an exceptional case. So graphite has unpaired electrons. Therefore, it is a good conductor. It is a good conductor. Okay. Next one is. Okay. These are some concepts, some properties towards your covalent compounds. These are the properties of covalent compounds. Properties of covalent compounds. Now, how to write the structure, Lewis dot structures for a particular compound. Lewis dot structures for a particular compound. Okay. So see here. Lewis dot structure. Lewis dot structure. Okay. How to write structures of covalent compounds as per Lewis concept. Lewis considered fixed electrons as dots and crosses. Some electrons as dots and some electrons as crosses. So by representing electrons as dots and crosses, so he draws some structures for covalent compounds. Those structures are called as Lewis dot structures. Everywhere octet rule is followed. Everywhere octet rule is followed. Okay. So now how to represent Lewis dot structure? What are the rules to write the Lewis dot structures of the compound? So first of all, rules to write the Lewis dot structure. First point is calculate the total number of valency electrons in the compounds. Calculate the total number of valency electrons in the compound. I will explain one by one each and every point with an example. Please wait. First condition, count the total number of valence electrons. First point. Second point, draw the atoms environment. Draw the atoms environment. That means by using your mind, so center atom at one position, these are surrounding atoms. Okay, so by using your mind, so predict the atoms and environment. So here not draw, it is better to go with predict. Predict the atoms environment. Predict the atoms environment. Next, third point. Distribute all valency electrons as bond pairs and lone pairs as every atom attains 8-electron configuration. That is octet configuration. For hydrogen, doublet configuration. Other elements are octet configuration, but hydrogen is doublet configuration. Every atom must attain octet configuration. If it is hydrogen, that must follow doublet configuration. So that will give finally distribute all electrons as cross or dots. As boiling point, as that is bond pairs and lone pairs. Cross as electron as cross or electron as dotted. Okay, so I am explaining one by one examples. So see here, first note down. First of all, count the number of valence electrons. Second one, atoms arrangement. That is environment you should predict. So now, third point, all the available valence electrons distribute as lone pairs or bond pairs so as to attain each and every atom octet configuration. Okay, so see here, examples. First example, simple one I am taking, NH3. NH3, Lewis dot structure. I am trying to write Lewis dot structure for this NH3. Okay, first point, calculation of total valency electrons. Calculation of total valency electrons. It is nothing but sum of group number of elements. Because number of valence electrons is equal to its group number. As number of valence electrons is equal to its group number. Number of valence electrons is equal to its group number. Now see here, nitrogen 15th group. Our old notation 5th group and we should use only old notation. Hydrogen first group that is 3 hydrogens, 3 into 1 Therefore 5 plus 3 which is equal to 8. Therefore valency electrons in NH3 is equal to 8. Similarly CO2 CO2 carbon 14th group element that is 4. Oxygen 16th group element ra, that is 6 and 2, 6, 12 ra, 12 plus 4, overall 16 is the valency electron set. Okay, next H2O ra. So hydrogen is first group ra, 2 into 1. Oxygen is 16th group ra, 6 ra. So that is equal to 8 is the valency electron. 8 is the valency electron. Next, CO2 ra, CO2. Carbon, 4th group ra, 14th group ra, 4. Oxygen, 16th group ra, 6. 2 into 6, that is a 12 plus 4. 16 is the valency electron set. So this is the way to calculate number of valency electrons. Is this clear? This is the way to calculate number of valency electron set. So group number, old notation, 16 means 6, 17 means 7. Okay. So now for NH3, this is the number of valency electron set. Okay. Now write down the atom's environment. Second step, predict the atom's environment. Here, one nitrogen connected with 3 hydrogens. There is a nitrogen is the central atom, hydrogen are the attached atom. Nitrogen is the central atom, hydrogen are the attached atoms. See here, nitrogen is the central atom, 3 hydrogens are the attached atoms. Okay, so we have 8 valency electrons. Distribute all these valency electrons here as lone pairs or bond pairs. So hydrogen attains that is doublet configuration. Other elements must attain octet configuration. So that means there is nitrogen hydrogen. First of all, at least one bond must exist between nitrogen and hydrogen. That is as bond pairs. First, each and every one bond parent. That means there is a single bond between these 3 hydrogens. That means 2 plus 4 plus, that is overall 6 electrons are completed. Hydrogen attains doublet configuration. Hydrogen attains doublet configuration. Hydrogen attains doublet configuration. But nitrogen has 6 only. So that remaining out of 8, 6 are distributed. Remaining 2 are as lone pair. That is only for nitrogen. So therefore, nitrogen also attains 8 electron configuration. 1 electron pair as lone pair. Okay. So here hydrogen follows doublet rule, nitrogen follows octet rule. Now every atom attains our conditions. Therefore, it is the structure of NH3 molecule as per our Lewis dot structure. Here electrons are represented as dots and crosses. Okay. So see here, this is also represented as, so that lone pairs, bond pairs as bonds and lone pairs as this one. This is also the structure. Both are possible. One bond pair is equal to one bond. 2 bond pairs is equal to 2 bonds. So that is also existent. Next one. Next example. Something little bit difficult. CO3 2 minus ion. This is called as the carbonate ion. Okay, I'm doing first step. Valency electrons is equal to. Valency electrons is equal to. Here minus 2 means gaining of electrons or losing of electrons divided by. Valency means gaining of electrons or losing of electrons. Minus 2 ra. What is the meaning of minus 2? Tell me, waiting for you. Yes, gaining. How many electrons are gained here? 2 electrons are minus. That means, so 2 more electrons you should add it. If negative charge is there, add those 2 electrons. If positive charge is there, remove that value. Okay. So carbon ra, 14th group, 4 plus 3 into oxygen, 16th group, 6. So there is a negative charge, that is a plus 2. Okay. So it is equal to 4 plus 18 plus 2 ra, 20, 24 valency electrons are there. Did you understand my concept, my dear boys? What about this 2? This is the electrons gained by the diion. This 2 is the electrons gained by the diion because it has -2 charge. Because it has -2 charge gained by the diion. For example, NH4 plus ion plus 1. So count the number of valency electrons. Valency electrons equal nitrogen 15th group 5 plus hydrogen 1 4 into 1. So it is a plus 1 means remove 1 electron. That is -1, which is equal to 8 electrons. Which is equal to 8. So 5 plus 9, 4, 9, 9 minus 1, 8. Total 8 electrons are there. So that means the positive charge is there, that much value is subtracted. Negative charge is there, that much value is added. Use the calculation now. These valency electrons. Okay. So now, second atom's environment. Here is the central atom carbon that is connected with 3 oxygens. So that is the carbon. So equal distance I should maintain here. 3 oxygens. This is the atom's environment. Carbon surrounded with 3 oxygens. Next, how many electrons are there? 24 electrons. Distribute these 24 electrons as lone pairs and bond pairs. Okay. First of all, 1 electron pair as bond parent. So 1, 2, 3. That means carbon has 3 to 6 electrons only, but carbon attains 8 electrons. For that purpose, any one of these cases, 3 cases, you should add 1 more electron parent. It is just a trial and error method. That's enough. 1 more electron pair. That means carbon 4, 2, 2 and total 8. That means no bond pair is further added. If 1 more bond pair is added, carbon gets 10 electrons not accepted. 8 electrons only accepted. So therefore, no bond pairs are there. So only 8 electrons are completed. Amount total 24, only 8 are completed. Remaining electrons only applicable for oxygen as a lone pair. Every oxygen attains 8 electron configuration. See here, already 2 are there. So 3 pairs. So 6 plus 2, 8. This is 8 electron configuration. Next, here also only 2. 6 plus 2, 8 electron configuration. Already 4. This is a 2 pairs. It is 8 electron configuration. This carbon gets 8 electron configuration. This is all about -2 charge ion. -2 charge ion. So see here, carbon 8 electron configuration. So 8 plus 8 plus 8, 24 electrons completely distributed. No electron in your hand. If any electron in your hand, that is wrong one. Okay. So carbon gets 8 electrons. Every oxygen has 8 electrons. So this is, we will rewrite it as carbon. This oxygen, there is a double bond O. With another oxygen, there is a single bond O. Okay. So double bond oxygen has a pair of electrons. Single bond oxygen has 3 pairs of electrons. 3 pairs of electrons. So this is overall contains -2 charge. Both are same. This is the Lewis dot structure for CO3 2 minus. This is the Lewis dot structure for CO3 2 minus ion. Carbonate ion. Carbonate ion. Okay. Only 2 lone pairs because this oxygen has a pair of 2 pairs. 4 electrons are already there. So only 2 electrons are required for that one. To attain 8 electron configuration. To attain 8 electron configuration. That means all these compounds, that means follows octet rule. This rule is applicable only for those compounds or ions follows octet rule. So for MgCl2, for BeCl2, these are the electron deficient compounds. Not follows octet rule. Not follows octet rule. So that is why for those we don't write the concept here. Okay, next. NH4 plus, already I counted as electrons. So central atom nitrogen, 4 hydrogen atoms, each one bonded with 1 electron. Therefore, nitrogen has 8 electrons, hydrogen has 2 electrons. Therefore, 2 electrons, 2 electrons, 2 electrons, 2 electrons. This is 8 electrons. Therefore, it is NH4 plus ion having positive charge. That is NH4 plus ion having positive charge. That is the structure of Lewis dot structure of NH4 plus ion. So nitrogen is 8 electron configuration, hydrogen is 2 electron configuration. Okay, next one. For ozone, I am trying. Before going to take ozone, there is one more example. Please wait. That is also important. N2O. I am taking N2O example, which is called as nitrous oxide. Its Lewis dot structure is how? Lewis dot structure. Okay. First, count the valency electrons. Valency electrons. 2 nitrogens. 2 into 5 of 5th group plus oxygen 16th group 6 and therefore 10 plus 6, 16 electrons are there. Valency electrons 16. Now atoms environment, please my dear boys. So just like I'm using here nitrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. Only you should use this environment. Only you should use this environment. NNO, not NON, not like that. It is a linear molecule just like this. NNO. Okay. So now distribute these electrons. This is how many electrons are there? 16 electrons. Distribute those 16 electrons as lone pairs and bond pairs. So first of all, as a lone pair, bond pair, as a bond pair. So but central nitrogen has only 4 electrons. Only 4 electrons. Okay. So for this, I'm representing 2 electrons here, 2 electrons here also as bond pairs. To maintain, nitrogen has 8 electrons. Now central nitrogen has 8 electrons. That means no further electrons is added to this nitrogen. No further electrons is added to this nitrogen. So 8 are completed, remaining 8 electrons are there. Those 8 electrons, as see here, 2 lone pairs here, 2 lone pairs here. Okay, so this is the structure. So this nitrogen has 8 electrons. This oxygen has 8 electrons. This nitrogen also has 8 electrons. This nitrogen also has 8 electrons. So this is one way. It is first structure. I am trying one more example. See here, nitrogen. So 8 plus 8, 16 electrons are completed. One more possibility is there. One more possibility. Now these are the bond pairs. Now I am putting 2 more electron pairs here. This nitrogen, triple bonds between nitrogen and nitrogen. This oxygen has single bonds. So nitrogen 8 electron configuration central nitrogen. This nitrogen has only 1 lone pair. This oxygen has 3 lone pairs. So see here, this is the electron pairs. Every nitrogen also attains 8 electron configuration. So 8, 8, 8. But this is 1 8, that is 1 8, total 16. So these are the different structures. These structures are called as the resonance structures. Resonance is indicated with the letter with the system that is 2 opposite half-headed arrows. That is resonance. That is a symbol for resonance. So that means here atom's position is not changed. Atom's position is not changed, but electrons environment is changed. Electrons environment is changed. That type of structures, 2 or more structures are possible. Those structures are called as resonance structures. These are the resonance structures for N2O. Okay. Tomorrow we will discuss. So tomorrow